What's a fact or saying that gets repeated constantly on Reddit that just isn't true? Every time someone uses the proverb blood is thicker than water on Reddit, someone will appear and point out that it is not the full quote, that the original quote is the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb, which has the opposite meaning, and has been reduced recently in order to change its meaning. But this is just an internet myth. The phrase the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb first appeared in 1994, in a book which provides no evidence of it existing before that. And then it became popular on internet more recently. And now it's being repeated ad nauseum. There are quotes of blood is thicker than water that are much older than 1994. Just do what makes you happy and ignore the haters. Never accounts for the fact that being a dick makes a lot of people happy. People who act it's a sin to comment on an old thread. There's no point in having 10,000 threads about the same topic, and sometimes mega threads aren't available. You can't use the keys in the wrong order in the water temple. Ill start. The saying the customer is always right is misquoted. The full quote is the customer is always right in matters of taste, and everyone leaves off that last part. No, it wasn't. https://n.wikipedia.org Wiki. The customer is always right. This is revisionist history that's popularized in online spaces by young people who are probably tired of dealing with Karens at work. The customer is always right is a motto or slogan which exhorts service staff to give a high priority to customer satisfaction. It was popularized by pioneering and successful retailers such as Harry Gordon Selfridge, John Wanamaker, and Marshall Field. They advocated that customer complaints should be treated seriously, so that customers do not feel cheated or deceived. This attitude was novel and influential when misrepresentation was rife, and caveat emptor let the buyer beware was a common legal maxim. Obviously, we know that in 2024 the customer is indeed not always right, Elmo. But it's bullshit that the original quote included the in matters of taste bit. Did you know the charity donation request at shops gives them a tax break seems to be repeated a lot? Many people on Reddit are 100% certain that opossums eat thousands of ticks per night. They just don't, and you will be downvoted to oblivion for pointing it out most of the time. Ticks are tiny, and it would take an opossum days to eat enough for a full meal. Do they eat ticks sometimes? Sure, but the ticks they eat are mostly removed during their own grooming. And they would much rather be eating a rotten animal corpse on the side of the road, or breaking into the farmer's coop to kill and eat their chicken's eggs. They will eat anything that they can to survive and reproduce. I see people say low-fat stuff just has more sugar all the time. And lately I've started checking labels on low-fat stuff, and it just doesn't seem to be true for most things. I remember seeing a comment from someone on Reddit where they said this was more of a thing back in the 90s, hence why people believe it. Not just Reddit, but the idea that the Library of Alexandria was burned down and its books were lost. While there were indeed some fires at the library, they were all localized, and there is no evidence that one conflagration destroyed the entire thing. Rather, as Alexandria's importance declined, so did the libraries, and repeated battles destroyed more of it than fires did. Not a specific fact, but a lot of Redditors have problems with stereotyping and generalizations, often unable to separate the part from the whole. Just because you belong to a group or are assigned to it doesn't imbue you with a set of thoughts, characteristics, or beliefs. Even within belief systems and ideologies, there is a wide amount of variation. Judge individuals on who they are, not their perceived identities. The other big one is that they always think breaking up is the right and only solution. Jack Gleeson Joffrey from Game of Thrones got so much hate for his role that he quit acting. The truth is he quit for his own personal reasons and has gone on record saying he's only ever met nice people in regards to fans. That the frontal lobe isn't fully developed until the age of 25. While this is not entirely incorrect, the best I could find about the subject when digging through sources was this paper, https, which makes it clear that while the frontal lobe might only grow to its full physical size at around age 25, that does not mean that mental faculties are only fully and completely developed at 25. The correlations between physical size and mental capacity is not established to that degree, but in comments on Reddit and elsewhere this argument, which I have seen and heard a million times over the last couple of years, is always used in the context of mental faculties, which is wrong. That there's no such thing as bad publicity. This can be true for small companies where being known for something bad is better than not being known at all. But if this statement were always true, then corporations wouldn't have PR departments and they'd be saying wild shit every day on purpose. That baby on board signs were invented to alert first responders to prioritize young children in a crash. No, they weren't. The Safety First company which created the sign says they were just a novelty item. First, emergency service workers will search the whole car regardless. If the parents are coherent, They'll first make sure there was no one else in the car in case the baby got ejected. A car seat is a much better indicator that there may be a young child on board. Tons of people drive around with young kids, but don't have a baby on board signs. Do people really think EMTs will hinge their search for victims on a little yellow sign? They'll probably get dislodged during a bad accident anyway. Then there's the fact that people leave the signs up all the time whether or not their kid is with them. No one is removing the signs and putting them back only when their baby is there. People think that others should drive more safely around them if they know a baby's in there, or it's to let other drivers know they may be distracted. This is a mental health issue. I can't stand that shit. Very few people here on Reddit are qualified to make that judgment in a professional setting, but none of us, including the professionals, are qualified to make that judgment from a 30-second TikTok video without context. Pit bulls were never called nanny dogs. I'm going to be downvoted for saying this, but almost always, the comment has positive karma. The fact that so many techniques of modern CGI animation were derived from people making R34 Art of Elizabeth from BioShock Infinite. That was just a meme that got out of control.